Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Watch Your Work Show. We are back midweek. I remember,
Yeah.
Kelsey, when we said that we're going to do this, the once a week, we ease into it. And like you said last time with Crystal Bradford, we're just doing another show just because there's
Listen,
just too
two
much to
guests
talk
one
about.
week. We thought this would be like bi-weekly at most, and now we're back again, you guys. Here we are.
We're back again, and I don't do this every time, and we need to because we're developing, I think, some show fans, and like we got folks who are excited for us. So like Finney's here, number one Stan Borland is here,
Number one
Lloyd
fan.
is here, Paul is here, and Max Pax today, and it's not pretty. Paul, you are going to see
Max
me
Pax,
open
though,
packs. Yeah, we're still team Max Pax. I
It's
have
either
not had a good Pax.
I'm team Max Pax or don't join the queue. Like it's one or the other. It's like I'm all or none.
You are so brave for not being able to just like join the queue. I see a link like that, I can't not hit it, despite not having a good pack.
I try not
in
to
months.
pay too much attention.
Yeah.
If you catch me and I see it, I'm in the queue. But otherwise, I'm like, oh, I'm busy. Must have missed it.
This is Kelsey Wins at Life, as per usual, and Deep Threats, also on the Mount Rushmore of stands for Watch Your Work. We are content machines.
We're doing our best.
Yeah.
Mike has a daily show. Mike streams multiple times a day. So we're trying to do our part.
That's right.
For this week only. This is not sustainable. I don't think I can do Sunday, Wednesday.
Well,
forever.
Speaking of content machines and doing their best, we have the founder, the human behind one of the best WNBA sites on the internet. I'm not just saying that because I get to write stuff for them and they were foolish enough to let me be a part of it. But this is truly a big get for it. Like, this is something that I'm really excited for. So we're going to welcome on Aryeh Schwartz from Winsidr onto the show.
How's it going?
Hi,
hello.
Aryeh, welcome.
Thank you. The system is so cool. I love
it. Just as per usual, you have the best background in the game, and
here we go.
We get to appreciate it.
Gotta try.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't think I knew there was that much merch to have.
I would give away my secret's eBay, but yeah, eBay,
Yeah.
and like Poshmark, you'll find the coolest stuff. I have other shoulder. I have a Russian nesting dolls of the Houston Comets right over there. So
there we go.
They used to do much cooler, like random merchandise. Like the Connecticut Sun did like a coffee mug with John Paul Jones's arms like around the mug. I don't know.
More of that.
Right?
I know.
Also, love your hair, by the way. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. You know what? More redheads on the stream. This is the new angle for Watch Our Work. It's the best. We're taking over.
I have to give away your secrets because there was like a middle of the day, like Aryeh sends me a message of like, who is the redhead? Like, we need more redheads covering the league.
Yes.
Like,
I want to get to a point where we can put together like a top, like an all redhead team. But I think there's like maybe have been like 3 players. So
yeah. There we go. We could also, I feel like that's the next like basketball type tournament thing. We'll be in the next sort of influencer basketball game as just a team of redheads.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm all for it.
Perfect. Foolproof plan.
We're already making humongous plans for the future.
Yeah.
We've been on stream for 3 seconds. This is great.
This is what it's all about.
That's right. Well, Aryeh, before we really dive into like the WNBA things happening, can you give us just a little like 30-second just sort of bio on who you are, what you do, the whole world around Winsidr?
Yeah, I'll give the abridged version because even the short version is like 5 hours. No, I mean I was a diehard WNBA fan and realized there was a serious lack of coverage. The style of coverage was just inferior. Like, it didn't make sense to me why I knew like an NFL's third string quarterback's lunch plans, but I couldn't figure out like advanced stats for a WNBA player. And I think that like now we're slowly starting to see the change. in my mind, I would like to think that we were some part of the wave or whatever. But the biggest thing for me is the style of coverage. I always use this as an example, and Kevin, I probably used this in like one of your interviews. Like when the Lynx and the Sparks were going back and forth in the finals, there was never articles after one of the teams lost that was, why did this team lose? And that always irked me, because in every other sport, when somebody loses the next day, like, yeah, you celebrate the champions, but you also kind of evaluate. Yeah, you analyze what happened. And there just wasn't that. And so that's what I founded Winsidr on. At the time, it was WNBA Insider. Then we were worried about like legal ramifications of using their name. So we dropped it. And now we've been blessed enough to have a plethora of super, super talented writers come through our ranks. And I mean, honestly, our whole thing is just we want to give good coverage to the WNBA, and there's a lack of it.
Yeah, still a lack of it. How old is Winsidr? I was trying to figure that out today.
Yeah, you and me both.
Okay.
No, because it's a question of when it started. We started in like 2016, but at that point,
okay.
It was literally just a Twitter account that was because I was spending so much time on Twitter. All my friends who are NBA fans were like, "Oh, NBA Twitter, NBA Twitter." Yeah. So I was like, "Okay, I'll make a Twitter account. I'll get on Twitter, start retweeting articles that I found interesting." And then kind of the light bulb came on that was like, wait a second. The articles that I'm finding interesting, I don't find them as interesting as like the other people's articles about other sports leagues, because they weren't being honest and critical. So then we started, shameless plug for our ridiculous handle of honest and critical analysis, because like, honestly, that's what it was. It was all rainbows and butterflies and daisies, but like not every team, there's 12 teams, 4 of them don't make the playoffs. They most likely did not have a great season if you don't make the playoffs, right? Like that's just a common thing. And so I feel like it for so long was, oh, this team lost, but next year they'll be really good, or, things like that. I'm like, yeah, some teams are going to suck for a couple of years, and it's okay to say that.
Which is normal in sports.
Exactly, right?
Let's talk about this.
I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. Like I've experienced them sucking, okay?
We all know. It's more fun that way sometimes.
When you win, it's so much more fun. I'm a
Patriots fan. I had the opposite experience in my lifetime.
We're not going to talk. Right, we're done.
Well, just speaking as the Nebraska basketball fan whose team gave up yet another 15-point lead in the second half, I would love to know what the other side of that fence is like from just the crying at losses. So steering out of that, like my own downward spiral of fandom, you talked about, having the critical view of the league. And that's one thing I appreciate about Winsidr. That's one thing I appreciate about you, Aryeh, and listening to the podcast that you do. One reason that we had you here is that kind of critical analysis, because there's been some huge news stories happen in the WNBA just in the last week. And I think one thing that could really use a lot of context, a lot of someone with history and knowledge in the league is like, what the hell is this New York Liberty story about charter jets? And we read the story. It's about charter jets. It's about the league threatening to take away one of the founding teams in the biggest market away, take away all their draft picks, take away the entire franchise. And then in this, there's a whole bunch of just different stuff about owners, about players, about the commissioner. Tell us about this New York Liberty story, and we're also interested in hearing your thoughts, as you narrate that.
Yeah, so I mean, the story is, and I should say, if the New York Liberty didn't want this story to be publicized all over, I would try and get Joseph Tsai to like fly me around corporate, or and charter jets everywhere as payment to bury it or to say it. I don't know. No, it was actually like a really, really interesting story, and I'm pretty shocked that it waited this long to come out. Essentially, after the All-Star break, the New York Liberty's owner, Joseph Tsai, said, and he had been pretty vocal about this on social media. He's one of those billionaires who likes to talk to the plebeians, I guess. But basically, he flew the team for the 11, or maybe it was 14 games, if I don't have the exact number, all the away games, they flew charter jets. And they even did an illegal trip to Napa Valley for a little wine tasting, from my understanding. Now, everybody is sitting there. And if you don't follow the W, you go, well, what's wrong with them flying charter jets? You know, they do it in college. The NBA does it. The WNBA has a strict rule on no charter jets, except during the playoffs. They implemented it recently with the new commissioner, Kathy Engelbert.
It's like brand new.
Yeah, like brand spanking new. Well, and it really came to a head because at Vegas and Washington had multiple games. There was one game. Well, some of this has to do with charter jets, some doesn't. There was one game delayed because there was an earthquake, and there was like a crack in the ceiling in Vegas, I believe it was. And then Vegas, on a rescheduled game, I think it was, came to DC, and their flight got delayed for a ridiculous amount of hours, and they were like at the airport until 6 a.m. from the night before or something. And they got there, I think they landed in DC right around, give or take, an hour before the game, and they said, we're not playing. Which honestly, I respect that. And there should have been
Those are
something
not optimal playing conditions.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm not going to risk players' injury after flying on a commercial flight across the country too. We're not talking about, New York to Connecticut Sun game right there, So all of that and the discussions of the new CBA, which came into effect, I believe it was 2 seasons ago, maybe at this point we're at 3.
2019 is that?
Yeah, and then I think the first season it went into effect was right before the bubble, so we've had 1 season post bubble. So really interesting aspect. Okay, he flew them. The super interesting aspect is no one can argue that it is a serious advantage to fly charter. I'm not bragging here, but I've flown on a private jet a few times, not because I could afford it or anything like that. I'm not gonna whatever. The details don't matter. I've flown on it. Let me just tell you, it's like taking.
That's all we're gonna ask about for the rest of the show.
The only comparison I can give is it's like taking a limo ride by yourself somewhere for an hour versus taking like a Greyhound bus that's completely packed. That's the only comparison that I can, and it's obviously Greyhound bus. You get stopped like 15 times because there's traffic and blah, blah, blah. It's like being in the HOV lane in a limo versus being in the normal traffic lane. And so it's obviously
Peter Pan buses.
Yeah.
Peter Pan bus trips.
It's obviously like a huge advantage, but the interesting aspect is the Liberty only won 2 of those games, which brings a whole element of, okay, if you're the LA Sparks, are you now, complaining to the league, hey, if they had a competitive advantage, they won 2 games because we could argue because of that competitive advantage, because let's say they didn't have that advantage, do they just lose all of their games? And the LA Sparks end up just skirting out of the playoffs and not being able to make it because of a competition between Washington, LA, and New York. So there's all these interesting aspects. I would say out of the discussions of the punishments, there's some back and forth also where the report from Howard Megdal said that Joseph Tsai got basically some charter agency to 3 years. And everyone was saying, the league, you're ridiculous. How do you turn down 3 years? But then the league comes out and says, we never got that offer. If we got that offer, it would have been crazy to say no to that. It costs $20 million to do this. Obviously, we take a $20 million investment. So there's a lot of ins and outs and whatever about it. My take on it is it's pretty simple. Yes, I respect him. I love that an owner has shown that commitment to his team. At the same time, I think they should have lost at least 1 draft pick. And I'm talking first round. I'm not talking second or third. Should they have lost maybe back-to-back first-round draft picks? I think that would have been a legitimate thing because it's at the end of the day, the rule is the rule. And I understand there's some rules that are meant to be broken. And how does it go? Like, if you don't get caught, you didn't break the rules, whatever. Well, the problem partially is I think part of it is he wanted to get caught eventually, because not only have we already seen, we saw this from MGM when they owned the Aces, and we're seeing it from Joseph Tsai. They will find ways to skirt the rules and give the players some sort of extra money. MGM was doing something with upgrading seats or guaranteeing aisle seats or something. I forget what exactly it was. Matt Ellentuck had a great article about it. And I think Joseph Tsai is doing the same thing, but he kind of teetered over that line. But part of doing that is you want the players in the league to know you're doing that, because then they want to come play for you. They were like, oh, this owner. And okay, I got to say, the 500,000 is such a slat. It's not even I know it was the biggest fine in league history,
Which also says something, that's the biggest fine in league history.
Well, and I've said this for a while. And all right, here's the thing. Lots of WNBA reporters, you don't want to shame the WNBA. You don't want to speak negatively about it, because I think we like, and I'm a victim of this also, we get defensive, right? So many times there's trolls on the internet who just attack the W. But I think as reporters, often because of that, we don't want to criticize the W. I have said for years that I feel like the WNBA is way too soft on their rules and don't hold teams or players accountable. Now, do I think all of the rules are legitimate and should be implemented? No. But I think if you're going to have it, you need to institute it as a rule and hold people to it. Because if not, like, what are we doing here? It's just chaos. And like, that fine is so simple. It's so nothing for him to sit there and just go, okay, whatever, I'll pay it. And honestly, the publicity, making this a story headline that we're talking about now and forcing other players to know about it just makes them, I mean, as an owner, right? He's taking a $500K fine to basically be the destination for every free agent in the future.
Well, and also this type of coverage is, in my mind, I was like, yes, there's coverage about some other facet of the WNBA that we're now finally seeing. And it's like the drama, the intrigue, people are asking questions about it. They're looking at it from a new lens. And I just think those stories alone are beneficial to the league. And to your point about the rules, like if they're not, I think that's an example where the league has to take itself seriously so that other people do. It's like chicken and egg, who's going to do it first? And you're right, like a $500,000 fine just to essentially do what he wants to do. Like it does not hurt them in any way that people found out about this, which is also what's funny about it to me, that like, that's it.
If we have found out about it a few weeks earlier, like in the beginning of free agency, now I don't think it would severely impact what was happening, because quite obviously, to fill people, met with Brianna Stewart, they met with Jewel Lloyd, they met with other big name free agents. So like they already are wheeling and dealing and whining and dining. But if you put and I don't think any of those players that they met with, I think it was more of everyone's talked about a long-term play for Brianna Stewart. Yeah. You know, she's from New York. Next year, once Sue Bird's retired, maybe then we can bring her in.
Yeah, I don't think this year was.
Yeah, I don't think that really, necessarily bring anyone in differently. But if that news comes out beforehand that their owner is willing to fly you to Napa and fly you charter for half the season and like, or a third of the season and not care about the repercussions.
But do you not think he was like, they were telling them that sort of secretly, like, hey, also we take care of our players if you come here?
Probably.
Like I think the people entering probably knew, right?
Yeah. But how many of those people, the side note is how active all the players on New York are on social media. The fact that we didn't find out about this earlier because of like Instagram posts or TikTok dances is hilarious. But no, you're probably right. They definitely are like, you know, by the way, you're going to find out in a few months that we are flying people charter. And maybe they take that seriously. Maybe they go, oh, they're just trying to wine and dine me. Yeah. But the other thing is, now that's a message. Like before, that's telephone, right? I'm calling you up. I'm telling you. Now
it's
Jim Bean down the block, who's not a player who I've ever spoken to, knows that and wants to join us. A college player is seeing all these articles. Now I want to play for New York.
Right. They're intrigued. Do you think that it benefits the Liberty more for that reason, or the league more? That like now it's more of a league conversation and people are sort of like, this needs to happen for everyone, versus like I'm sort of thinking like what happens next. I don't know if it pulls people to New York because now New York's been fined. I don't know what like I don't think they get away with it to that degree again. Right? Like what is it? What does that mean for next season? Is this really a benefit for New York? Does it then prompt the league to do something about it?
Yes. So I would say that it benefits them in the sense that maybe they're not chartering again while it's illegal, because of what I think was a complete scare tactic of saying, we entertain the idea of, you know,
all these other things,
relegating you out of the league or whatever. That's BS. You're not doing that.
Won't do that. No. They can't do that.
No, they can't. Like, that's just ridiculous. And then you have to play, like, you have to find an expansion right away.
Yep.
Excuse me. You have to reformat. Otherwise, you have to reformat like everything. They don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, it's not feasible.
So I think like it was kind of like let's put that out there so people know we're serious, but we're not actually serious. I think it tells players that we're willing to bite the bullet for you as a team. And as a player, all you want is management that says, that we'll do whatever.
You matter. Yeah.
Wait, you had another question. I totally blanked.
Oh, just so like, does the league now make this a priority?
Yes. So I think that this has been a priority. There just hasn't been a realistic opportunity to kind of grab it. I mean, they implemented just last year that the playoffs, you would fly charter for specific rounds of the playoffs. We'll see how that happens with the new playoff format where there's going to be more series, and which means that would be a lot more chartered flights. I think that it's a main focus, but Kathy has her eyes set on making the league more viable and standalone. I mean, the ultimate dream of the W. I'm not going to go on this rant, but I can put a lot of blame on the NBA for where the WNBA is now. Why is it that when we're talking about, oh, can the league do this? Majority of the league is owned by the NBA.
Yeah.
It's cough money, it's sneeze money. It's $20 million a year to fly every team charter for the whole season. That's nothing for them, right? How many players in the NBA? I guarantee there's over 100 players in the NBA who are making 20 million plus. And I don't even know how many players are in the NBA. But my point is, is that like at the end of the day, the NBA has done a great job of kind of shielding themselves from any of the bad press. How come we're not talking about the fact that the NBA could very easily solve this issue, right? Yeah. The NBA has not invested in the WNBA since they bought the league, since they basically got the monopoly on women's basketball in America. And the fact that they have just skirted blame for so long of this, like there's no junior WNBA. Why do they use the WNBA players on their promotional material? Because it's basically what they're saying is they want to bring in young female fans. They realize that these women are role models, and people look up to them, men and women, boys and girls, and they want to use that for the advantage of growing the NBA. But then when the second that it's, hey, can you put $1 towards the W to grow the W? It's, well, we give you best business practices. And if the WNBA,
it's like proof of like they need something else to then give them like it's this circular logic of like, well, we need this to give you money for this. It's like, well, we need money to do that. Like, yeah, who's going to do that first? But I do think people are realizing that it's a financial thing, and that if the WNBA is given the money, they're going to use it to both benefit the players, which is going to benefit the league, which is going to up the caliber of the game. Like it's worth it.
That's one thing that I found interesting about the story in general, is that it shows a league that's just like in these weird like transitions between like growth and like where they've been at the last 25 years. And I think I had to queue up a quote because it stuck with me for about a week. So like I haven't spoken for a little bit, so I feel entitled to about 30 seconds. But this is the quote from the story, and it still just lives in my brain, and I can't let go of it. For some owners, the WNBA team has been a place to park losses elsewhere in their corporations. Some view it as a pure charity. One WNBA owner proudly proclaims the value of the WNBA team to be zero, according to multiple league sources. And thus all he spends on this team is effectively a contribution towards the greater good of women's sports. Before you comment on that, like how in the hell can you can you value something as an absolute zero and look at it as a charity case, but still somehow put it on this pedestal as it being something about the greater good in women's sports, if it's not something that you're willing to invest in or see value in? Like that, I think that shows kind of where we're at, like in the league, and sort of this, why it's so hard to take all these steps forward that folks want to.
So we had a whole chat about this in the Winsidr Slack group, because there's so many elements of it. And I think everyone kind of wants, like, I don't know about you guys, but often when it comes to sports leagues, it's the fans versus the commissioner and versus the owner, right? Like the players are the good people for the most part. The owners and the commissioner are the bad guys, right? And with the W, it's really interesting because it's much more confusing than that. I'm not going to sit here and defend the older WNBA owners, but I will say that, like, cool, Joseph Tsai, it's great you want to be an owner in the WNBA today. Where were you 5 years ago? You had tons of money then. Mark Davis It's great you want to own Las Vegas Aces right now, but where were you 10 years ago? Right? Where were you when the Monarchs folded in your neck of the woods of Oakland area? Sacramento, Oakland, whatever. But so like my thing is that we can praise these new owners or MGM too. We can praise these new owners who are invested, Mark Lore also and A-Rod, but where were they before? It's not like they just like won the lottery 10 days ago and now they're buying it. Let's not give them a pat on the back, because now in 2022, when people are championing women's rights and equality and things like this, now they realize, oh, the climate is right for this investment. I'm calling BS. Okay. You look at some of these other WNBA owners, they've been invested in this, and maybe some of them don't. I'm not going to sit here and say, I know which owner said that and it's this owner. So, and they've been around for X years and I'm going to exonerate them. No, what I'm saying is that there was people who, for whatever reason it was, saw a need to be an owner of a WNBA team, saw an importance of having a WNBA team and a WNBA league, and invested in it. Whether or not, we see eye to eye, and I think that they're like great human beings for doing it, is a completely different story. But the interesting act, and there's positives and negatives of it, is as with the climate of today, with the place where the WNBA is now and its trajectory, it's going to be really interesting as we see these older owners who have been around for X amount of years, who have been around and cared for so much more. Like, there's a huge discrepancy in how much the Chicago Sky owner is valued at / has in, actual money versus Mark Lore, A-Rod, Mark Davis, the Seattle Storm team, Joseph Tsai, like a plethora, heck, even the DC team, Ted Leonson's. Like, there's such a divide in this. And I think what we're going to slowly see more and more as the league grows, as much as it's going to suck in certain ways, those older, less wealthy owners are going to have to peace out, because it's going to get to a point where you need to be able to put multi-million-dollar investments into this league, into your team on a yearly basis. And realistically, like, some of these owners can't afford to do it and live the lifestyle that they want to live. And, it's good in the sense of that there's going to be this influx of more money into the league. There's also the negative side of it of we know why these people are investing in the league now, because they think there's going to be a return. What happens if that return takes a little bit longer than they planned, or something else happens in their business and they're out a ton of money and then they have to start making cuts? I mean, we saw what happened before Joseph Tsai came around. Blank on whoever the MSG guy is, the Knicks guy who everyone hates, Dolan or whatever. I mean, he basically said, I want to sell this team. And it took, 2-3 years for them to sell it. And they basically put him in purgatory up at a rec center up in middle of nowhere, New York. I mean, what do we want that to happen again? We can sit here and say, like, let's replace these like cheaper owners, but we don't have the people to replace them yet.
Yeah. Especially when you're talking about expansion too, and considering that dynamic. You're like, how do we, and what is the priority there? Like, is it bring in more teams first and then try to kind of clean house? But I wonder though, if it does seem like if it trends that these teams will provide value in maybe a shorter term than they were expecting, right? Right now, they're like, this is where I park my losses. But given the climate, given the WNBA, given the hype, given, the push for marketing and the push for, I feel like there's a difference. Like last year, this year, I feel like I'm noticing a difference with
make that happen
with the WNBA. And maybe it's just because I'm more locked in. Maybe it's because I follow more WNBA Twitter people on Twitter and like I'm seeing it more. But I do feel like there's got to be a moment soon where people are like, no, this will be profitable. This is a good long-term investment. This is, worth sticking around for. And I don't have a good sense of, where like who the owners are, where the owners are at with that kind of analysis. But yeah, I wonder, like, in terms of expansion versus kind of those older owners, sort of how that all shapes out.
One thing I will say is, and I would assume the WNBA does this also, but I've been told in like the NFL, NBA, and all the professional sports leagues, you want expansion of team. I don't know what the proper verbiage is, but you want to do that, you have to pay a buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
So like the W just got a $75 million investment. How much are they going to charge you to buy in a new team, right? Like Drizzy Drake wants to bring a team to Toronto. He's talked about it. He's tweeted about it.
Do it.
Okay, cool. Like you drop a couple mil as your entry fee, and that feeds in. I mean, if you bring in 4 new teams over the next 4 years, two skip a year or 2, and then 2 more, and you charge them $5 million each. And honestly, that would be a low entry fee in my opinion.
That's very low. They just had a thing on Take Line. They talked with one of the MLB reporter or MLS reporters. That buy-in for the league in their wild expansion, it's over $300 million just to bring in a new team. So like $5 million, that would be a deal for an investment.
Well, the reason I said $5 million and 4 is because that covers. Obviously, you add 4 new teams. Charter jets cost a little bit more, but that covers charter jets for a year. And so, obviously, if you make each team say, "Hey, you want to come in? Minimum, you're buying charter jets for the league for the next year." Yeah. Like, why not make that? There's so many ways that they can get an influx of more money. But the big thing, and you brought up MLS, and I'll just point this out real quickly, is like MLS got to negotiate their own TV rights deals. The WNBA had to hold the hand, or the NBA had to hold the hand of the W. And I'm not going to say who was holding the hand and who wasn't letting go of the hand, but all I'll say is the WNBA got royally screwed because MLS was able to sell their rights to like 5 different streaming areas, right? The WNBA has ESPN, and then they were able to get Twitter, and they were able to get Amazon. I hope they get Hulu too or whatever. But like, there's serious limitations of what they're bringing in from that aspect, which is a huge stream of revenue for professional sports leagues. And so MLS, who has been around a similar amount of time and has seen a similar trajectory, give or take, whatever, is a really interesting one that I always like to compare to. Look, soccer was not very popular in America. They saw a cash cow because it's working overseas. That's the same thing with the WNBA. Like you invest in it. I've been overseas games where the crowd is packed. Yes, it's smaller arenas, but the fans are insane. I've interviewed players who have told me stories of like, playing in Turkey, and it's a 15,000 arena completely sold out. People are firing, lighting pennies on fire, throwing them at the opposing team. They're launching fireworks in an indoor arena. And I'm not talking about like sparklers, real fireworks. Like they're lighting like, the amount that these fans do, people love sports. They don't care who's playing it.
Yep. I've been to FIBA matches, and I can absolutely vouch for that. Like folks are bananas like in Europe for that. We want to be respectful of your time, and I'm so appreciative of what we thought we were going to get from Aryeh when it comes to the Liberty. We got that plus like tenfold. If we're talking about investments, we got that $5 million plus we got the charter jet just by having Aryeh on the show.
There we go. Our version of an expansion.
We won $5 million. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. You are our $5 million. That's where we're at. I think a couple other points that Kelsey and I had maybe kind of highlighted, things that we wanted to talk with you about just briefly, is just to take some quick hits now that we're kind of at the tail end of free agency. Though when I say that, like wild trades happen, like T.R. McGowan's or anything like that. We've been like places have been all over the place with like who won free agency, I think what I'm more interested in is like, who do you feel like really set themselves up well in free agency, where they were at the end of the 2021 season and where they're going to be at in the next 2 months when the season starts?
I would say that I feel like LA, like, and then I said this on our podcast too, LA, I feel like moved the needle the most because I forgive me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of the teams that are mentioned about winning free agency is Chicago. They got Emma Meesseman. They got back Vander Quiggs, blah, blah, blah.
It's like got back versus like.
Well, yeah, but also my biggest question with them is they lost Diamond DeShields' athleticism. And they're filling that with Emma Meesseman. My favorite player is not Courtney Vandersloot. My favorite player of all time is Simone Augustus, the great. But
she's great.
So I truly think like you look at what what LA was able to do. I mean, excuse my language, they were a bad team last year. They just couldn't score. They had great effort on defense. Shout out to Latricia Trammell, their defensive coordinator, as I like to call her. But you add the Liz Cambage, like single game scoring record player. You add a Kennedy Carter, who's just, her nickname's Hollywood, and she's playing in Hollywood. And
storylines alone,
right?
Very Hollywood.
And, Katie Lou, it's too good. Honestly, it was like you have to make this trade happen. But I think at best case they're a finals contender. At worst case, it all just explodes because they have so much personality. Maybe we see a repeat of Atlanta last year where the personalities clash. They had too much of it, too many alphas, and it just crashes and burns. The one thing I will say is, like, say what you want about Derek Fisher. He's been on teams that have a ton of superstars, and they were teams that were able to find success. Do I think he's the best coach in the league? Far from it. But I will say that that's a huge advantage. And I think this Sparks team is really, really, really going to be exciting to watch. Worst case, they're going to be so fun to watch play.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a great point about Derek Fisher. He is not among my favorite humans in the WNBA, but that's a really good point. I think what else that we had is who's winning the title.
If I'm putting money in Vegas today, it's the Connecticut Sun.
Okay.
I just feel like I saw an interview with Lindsay Whalen where she talked about how hard it was to transition from like always being the underdog and fighting so hard to win her first championship. But the harder part was then finding that, like, when you can't breathe, you will do anything to get above the water to the air. But once you've kind of gotten the air, you maybe start to paddle a little bit less. I don't know if that's a great analogy. It's probably a horrible analogy.
You're not working as hard.
Yeah, like we talk about Chicago, I think it's going to be harder for them to repeat. That's why it's hard to repeat, not because they don't have the skill. It's just going to be hard to do that. Connecticut's been one of those teams that, like, steal James Wade's quote pre their championship run, like, they've been knocking on the plastic door, the glass door, the screen door. Yeah, they've been knocking.
Yeah, just the door.
Yeah, the outside. They've been knocking on the screen door this year. They bring Courtney Williams back. They got that swagger back. Now they're knocking on the real door, and I think, like, if it's ever it's this year or it's never for Connecticut Sun. It's just one of those things. Eventually, like, it gets stale.
All right. Well, you heard the financial advice here. Bet on the Connecticut Sun. And
no, don't.
Not financial advice.
Jokes.
Don't do that.
Bet on them.
Do your own research.
Yep.
Pop over to Winsidr, read up on the teams, figure out what you're gonna do, and then place your bets with Vegas.
Aryeh, we asked for 20 minutes of your time. We got 40. Plus
you're welcome to stay and hang. But like, if you need an out, just like you can at any point just be like, see ya, and just peace.
I got minimum at least 10 more minutes if you're cool. I mean, I don't want to drag down the show. I'm just sitting here like, you have such a cool shade of orange. I'm so jealous right now. My hair is all like wet and not shining.
It's the lighting. There's a whole setup here, so I do think that part of it.
I think to turn on my ring light thing. My hair looks so
you got a ring light, and then you got to get the like contrasting color in the background.
We're back on the redheads, and people are already ready to replace me with the redhead from the league.
I think Neil made a comment about the logo having the orange headphones.
Yep,
it works. We got to lean in.
Yeah, nice. I feel like that character in a TV show that's just like ready to be replaced. Who's the first mom in like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Like, I feel like I'm going to be shown the door like any minute.
This is my number one celebrity doppelganger. Nobody mentions the actual actress's name. Nobody says you look like Bonnie Wright. They say you look like Ginny Weasley. So that's.
I will
that's
say,
my
like,
life as a redhead.
props to Harry Potter for giving us positive redheaded role models.
Yeah,
Redheads
we love
can be
it.
heroes too.
Redheads can be heroes too.
This is
a whole family of them.
I don't know what I expected for redhead content today, but we have absolutely surpassed it. That's great.
It's perfect.
I know. I'm married to a redhead, so we're team redhead here. So we're all great.
Nice.
So one of the other things that we had talked about kind of going through is some NCAA women's March Madness. Aryeh, how do you feel about your chops in the college game?
We need to put this on a t-shirt, by the way.
Yes, hashtag redheads can be heroes too. So my thing is I start paying attention at the tournament. Like right now is the time that I start calling up Rachel Galligan, Adam Miller, and anybody else I know, Justin Carter, all these other people who cover college basketball, BTRL also. And I hit them up and I'm like, okay, so who do I need to pay attention to? Because like my thing with college basketball is there's so many teams. I don't know how people pay attention. And you have to like subscribe to 30 different channels to watch all the different teams.
Yeah, it's hard. I do appreciate though. I feel like specifically with Twitter, I'm seeing a lot more NCAA women's coverage, and it truly may just be my algorithm, but I feel like there's so much hype around these college women, and that there's a lot of really fun names coming through the pipeline. And I do think that's going to have a big impact on the WNBA in the next few years. That's just going to be so fun.
So we are stealing this from our friends at Her Hoop Stats. And to what Aryeh said, like who you watch in the NCAA depends on the TV subscription you have. I come from a ESPN Plus household at the moment, and so we're big on mid majors and Big 12. So I have seen way more Iowa State games than I even have like the team in my backyard, Nebraska. So this is who I feel like between Iowa State and Baylor. I feel like pretty confident in saying like they look good. I've watched a lot of them. This are their like top 16 seeds through the tournament. So all kind of like the 1 through 4 seeds through different areas. Kelsey or Aryeh, the teams that you look at here, who do you think, who are you eyeing for a big run? If we set up a bracket challenge, who are you taking a long ways?
I have a lot of recency bias from last year's tournament. And so I'm looking at a lot of these teams, and then I have to remind myself that the people I'm thinking about are now in the WNBA. Then I'm like, ooh, I like Baylor. And I'm like, no, Dede Richards and DeJounte are not there anymore. And I'm like, ooh, I like Arizona. And I'm like, no, Erin McDonald is not there anymore. So I think I have to kind of like take that out of my head for a little bit. That's like my next piece of work. I think one thing that's interesting, UConn has Paige back. And so Paige has been kind of like working her way back into the rotation. Paige Beckers at peak performance is a game changer. So I got to kind of look at, people like I'm picking UConn. Yeah. Obviously UConn powerhouse. But they also like haven't played with Paige in a while, and they have a really great team, but I'm curious to see kind of their first couple games. I think they, hold their own at the beginning, but I'm not sure what they're going to look like as we get to the end. And that's, I got to think through my thoughts on some of these other ones.
Sure. Aryeh, how about you?
I'm going to cop out and just go with Stanford. I mean, obviously like South Carolina is a scary team.
Leah Boston's incredible.
Boston's a freak. Like, just watch out. But my thing is just like Stanford has so much skill. I feel like they didn't lose much from last year's run. But the really interesting thing when I look through these teams is NC State is always like has a ridiculously good record. They're not the flashiest ball. They're not the greatest team, but they always have a really good record. They're always up there. I think like a couple years back, they had like an undefeated season or something like that. And it was pretty ridiculous. Then they always falter out. I'm just gonna come out here and say, like, I'm not gonna be shocked if UConn, like, I don't know the last time they didn't make the Sweet 16, or like is this gonna be the year that, like, so many things have been in flux, and Gino's calling out the coaches and the players and this and that, and like, is this the year that we see the giant? Like, we've seen the Giant of UConn kind of stumble over the last few years, but realistically, I mean, how many other teams are even in that point of, you just kind of, it doesn't matter who they're playing, we're writing them into the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. South Carolina has probably established themselves in the last 5 years of doing that.
Yeah.
But Gino and UConn have been doing that for like 30 years, like
forever. You like look at the WNBA and you're like, oh yeah, UConn. Oh yeah, UConn. Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. I really just want to see Caitlin Clark go for like an insane historic, because I don't know anyone else on her team. And I mean that,
I'm blanking on it. There's like one other person who does really well, and I think has made sort of a sub name for herself. But honestly,
I think if you listen to the Iowa's coach, she doesn't know who the rest of the team is. Like, she's talking about like, we don't have enough All-Americans.
We're like, that's your fault. That's on you. Like, you don't have people to support your star player. Like, that's you.
Honestly, and that's the thing. Like, it's crazy because you look at the argument, right? Going into it, everyone's like, Caitlin or Paige. I'm biased. Well, I'm multiple bias. I love them both because I'm from the Midwest. But my high school team, like, well, all right, my high school would play against Paige's high school in sports. We were in the same conference, whatever. And like, this guy who was a senior when I was a freshman on the football team, Arsenio Richardson. So he was for a year or two the women's basketball coach at my high school. And he went viral because him and Paige started talking smack to each other during a game. And obviously Paige's team was lighting up our team. Our school was not good at any sports besides synchronized swimming. And it was just the funniest thing ever. Because I was like, I didn't know you're our coach. And like, I know Paige because I cover women's basketball, and this was just like the funniest clash of worlds. But the interesting aspect is how good of like a team UConn is player wise, not performance wise, but player wise in comparison to Iowa, and just the numbers that each of them put up, and like the way they do things. I would love a topsy-turvy world where for 1 year they have to switch teams.
That would be incredible.
That's fun.
Yeah,
right?
I think there should be more weird stuff like that in both NBA and WNBA. All of my favorite basketball takes are like that type of thing. I think the same about, I think I've said this on, we've only had a handful of shows, but I think that in the All-Star game, there should be like either 1-on-1 or 3v3 tournament with WNBA and NBA, and whoever wins takes the other person's salary. Like, I think we need to have some fun with this stuff.
I'm down with it. Also, I just need to throw this out there. My biggest pet peeve is the celebrity game. They throw WNBA. That's another thing too. It's like with the NBA. Yeah. Oh, well, we want to give you exposure, so we'll have you in the celebrity game, and because you're a celebrity, but we don't sorry. Side rant. There was an article that was written about Tina Charles like 5-6 years ago about how she like dedicated her salary to get defibrillators at places that couldn't afford it across New York. And I thought, like, this is a great story, but it's so backwards because people are probably sitting there like, who's Tina Charles? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean in the sense of like, at the end of the day, she's famous because she's an amazing, amazing basketball player. But nobody knows she's this amazing, amazing basketball player because the only articles anyone ever in mainstream media wrote about her was how she's donating for defibrillators. And it's like so backwards. Like, you want us to play in a celebrity game, but in every other day of the year, you act like we're not celebrities or we're not valued at that effect.
Right. And their celebrity is rooted in their athleticism. And then you're going to
have them play against like Jake Paul and
where they arguably cannot showcase their athleticism. Like, they're not able to showcase their celebrity in that environment. And I guess nobody is, right? Yeah. Like, these other entertainers aren't like doing their thing on the basketball court.
Well, I don't know. Kevin Hart was pretty funny playing basketball.
See, okay. So counterpoint. There we go.
No,
I think a couple of them ended up performing at some point in the weekend. So
yeah, right. Like, who was it Machine Gun Kelly, who was just horrible, like couldn't even hit the rim or whatever. And it's like, that's cool and all, but these WNBA players are going up against that. They can't go 100 because they don't want to get injured.
Yeah.
And I doubt they're getting paid for doing this. It's just a publicity stunt or whatever. But at the same time, like, it's a lose-lose. I just don't see the positive of it. And I would love it for the WNBA players to boycott it. But I understand, you know,
Or
they need
just
to market themselves.
I don't know, incorporate them better. Like, I think there could be a lot of fun to having it being a
Skills
WNBA
contest.
like a basketball all-star weekend.
Bring back the skills contest.
WNBA players in the skills contest. Oh my God. Absolutely.
And not as on the same team as an NBA player. Like, she's in the skills contest, like on her own accord. And like, school Kat. Like, Kat was great. Like, Kat was 3-pointer. Who won skills this year? Shoot. Was there skills?
Wasn't it John
Was this
Paul?
the year that they dropped that?
Oh, sorry. You're talking about the NBA.
Yeah. No, but like, showcase those.
No,
like,
yeah. Kat won the 3-point contest. Skills.
Wait. As in,
I think they integrated the skills challenge into other stuff.
Wait.
Yes,
Carl-Anthony Towns
won the 3-point title.
Is he good at 3-point? I'm sorry. I'm from
he's
Minnesota,
the best,
and all
best
my
shooting
friends.
big man in the league and ever. Is
Okay,
what he's
all
known
my
for.
friends. That's so funny that I didn't know this. All of my friends are huge Wolves fans, and wow, how they did not like blow my ears up about how he won that is shocking to me. They don't win anything else though.
Oh, it was like a rookie team that did the skills.
Yeah, they did it as teams versus like individuals.
And it was like Mobley who hit like the last like half quarter to like win.
Yeah, they had that half court shot.
Okay, I got it. We're going back
I've already
through.
forgotten about it. It's already like out of my
exactly.
mind.
But if like, oh my gosh, if Sue Bird shows up for All-Star Weekend and schools a bunch of NBA players in a skills competition, I feel like that would have a more lasting impact than Evan Mobley hitting a half-court shot that he probably takes a million times in practice. Yeah,
you know, but the NBA would have to care about the W's growth. So,
that's true.
That's
a deep dig.
I just hate, like, I've gotten to the point where I refuse to watch NBA games because I'm not gonna like feed into the machine that is whatever you call them. Like, it's just, I'm at that point. I'm that old curmudgeon. Like, get off my lawn, NBA.
Speaking of Minnesota, our resident Minnesota fan is going to school us on, or scolding us for like besmirching the good name of the Wolves. Yes, they are a lot better.
They don't have a good name. If I have to pick an NBA team, it's the Wolves. I stopped following them when KG left. And like, I love Kat. Don't get me wrong. One time, actually, who is Andrew Wiggins? I once helped him in Minnesota. He got his car stuck in a snowbank, and I once helped him get his car out of a snowbank. So that was cool.
That's the most Minnesota nice thing.
We were driving by, and there's like a Porsche, like a tiny sports car Porsche stuck in a snowbank, and I was like, well, this guy ain't from Minnesota. Let's hop out and see if we can help him.
Was the giveaway driving the Porsche in the snow in Minnesota? That's pretty big,
right?
So I didn't know who he was until we drove away, and my friend told me, dude, that's Andrew Wiggins. And I was like, I know that name, but I don't, because I don't follow the NBA. And then he told me, I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Thank you, Smokey, for this.
Perfect dad joke. That's great. Yeah.
Now my brain's like, what other ones can I come up with?
Yeah. And I have to just throw this up because I saw it and I can't stop thinking about it. Rodney, I think if just more people in general watch the WNBA, that would change things.
More men watch the WNBA.
Yeah,
Rodney, are you watching the WNBA?
Yeah.
I love the way you like
at Rodney. Yeah. I hope you're watching WNBA games.
Well, and the one thing that I'll say is that the other issue with that whole ESPN deal is if you just search WNBA ESPN numbers, or I think it is, there's a whole Wikipedia page about this, and the WNBA numbers were continuously growing throughout their first like 15 years of life of the league, right? Like they were 200 times, like 300%, 400, all these crazy things. And then the ESPN, and I know that it was like, you know, the market crash and there's layoffs at ESPN. And so other things happen. It's not like the world does not revolve around the WNBA, but ESPN slowly started to cut the number of games that they were showing on ESPN. they start and then they try and, PR twist it to say, well, we're putting 30 games on ESPN this year. But it's like, okay, half those games are on ESPN 5. 2 of them are on ESPN Ocho. One of them's on ESPN, like all these different channels. And it's like, what do you have on ESPN 1 and ESPN 2 right now? Cornhole? Like a replay of like college basketball tournament of like a note, like of the first round of the tournament from 30 years ago. Like,
I mean, even on Sunday, we were trying to pump the first game to watch Crystal Dangerfield. And we were like, so the first game's on the 6th, but the first one you can watch on TV is the 8th. So watch her on the 8th, like put on TV. Oh. And we're like, oh yeah, this is different from the TV schedule. It like took us a minute to figure out we were looking at the TV schedule. And we're like, but when is the actual first game? We're like, why?
And I'm going to put a pin real fast in it. We're not taking digs at Rodney. Rodney, I understand the take. We love you here. This is
a deep threat. Like, it's never too late to start watching. Join us. We'll be talking about it all season. We're so glad to have you here. You being here is a win. Like, this is incredible. And tell the women you know and the men you know and everyone in your life that they should start watching too. Have watch parties, guys. People want to hang out. Do the whole thing.
And I do this every episode, but I know for a fact that simply watching games is going to change your entire perspective about it. I saw it with Deep Threat, and I called him out like every episode. I don't even think that he was like skeptical about it. He was just like, I never thought to watch a game. And pretty soon he is blowing up our entire Discord.
Yeah, now he's pumping Sloot in the chat.
Yeah, now he's pumping Sloot live on shows. Like,
we love it.
Why aren't you talking more about Sloot? I love Sloot, guys. Come on.
He's your favorite player, right?
Guy.
And you can start with NCAA women because that's going to be, that's going to be so much fun.
It's that TikTok trend of like one day watching the WNBA, 1 week watching the WNBA, one postseason, and you're the Sloot guy. Yeah.
A lot of these like NCAA women players are on TikTok. Like, they're building an audience separate from their basketball career that's making them sort of famous separately, which I'm sure is going to draw more people to watch them in the league, which is, I think, another cool facet of all this. But I am curious, like,
with all the NILs, like women's basketball players or women's sports in general, but basketball itself, were like by far the biggest, money makers, which is crazy because, a good friend of mine, Jasmine Baker, she always talked about it where it's just like, there's so many aspects wrong, right? Like, why aren't these players getting, makeup sponsorships or, there's so many things that like go into their everyday lives that companies are just missing marketing opportunities. And it's just so ridiculous. Like, to see, I've for years seen players wear Crocs everywhere. The second they get out of their game shoes, they throw Crocs on. And like, back when Crocs were still being made fun of, like, I know they still kind of are, but like when they were really made fun of.
Balenciaga makes like a $700 Croc. So I feel like they're doing fine. Yep. They have a heel on them.
Oh my God. Honestly, that sounds like the most comfortable heel ever. But yeah, like, and then like multiple players, I will wear the Croc heel if it, no question. Yeah, like Crocs, there's just so many things that like just marketing opportunities. I mean, how many players wear eyelashes while they're playing? Yep. If like, I don't wear fake eyelashes, but if I did,
right. If you're thinking of expanding to a new sort of marketing base, but like also have them market your shoes, like even outside of women's products. I think that there's so much they could be doing. There's so like,
well, like Nike, it's such a joke, right? Like all Nike, Adidas, all these we're focused on giving equality for women and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, how many women have their own shoe deals?
Yeah. Give them a shoe deal.
How now, and why?
I think we've just seen the first one. Like, wasn't Breanna Stewart the first shoe deal?
Has her shoe come out
last year? I don't think it's come out yet, but I think it was
in a very long time, which is also messed up because Skylar Diggins has been on Puma for many years, and Puma at one point like tweeted out, I think like one of the ball kids join Puma or someone joined Puma, and like Puma's Twitter account put out like the first professional basketball like superstar or something like that.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and everyone was like, Skylar's been there, but like, Well, I completely agree with all of that. I do think that there's just so much like, sorry. Oh, this is the rant I wanted to go on real quick. 2-second rant. Nike and their jerseys.
Oh
Like
my God.
this really cool jersey right here is the Minnesota First Ave one, right? Every year, NBA people, or every 2 years, NBA teams get a city edition jersey. The WNBA, we argued for years. Yeah, he's right. Candace does have a we argued for years to give us like one cool style jersey. Like all of these jerseys behind me are very old jerseys because they were cooler when they were older, and now they suck.
The fit of I bought a jersey.
Oh my God.
I returned the jersey. The fit of them is so weird. And it's like sort of a women's fit, which you don't need to do that. Just make it a unisex fit and we can all wear it and we'll all be far more comfortable than with whatever you decided to do for these ones. They're like so long. They're the weirdest. It's the weirdest thing I've ever put on my body. Like
I bought a Fouls jersey just like 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, yeah, I'm texting Kelsey of like, is this like how, like, what am I even supposed to buy? And then I think I get the right size and it's like, fits relatively well in one space and then it's just completely wonky everywhere else.
I don't know if anybody else has tried this. Have you tried this? The youth jerseys are like $40 cheaper, and I've been very, very tempted to get the youth.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Well, so that's what if your fake, that's what I was saying. If your fake eyelashes can stay on for 40 some minutes while you're going crazy, then like I don't wear fake eyelashes, but I would wear those fake eyelashes.
That's a great advertisement for
if your makeup.
I know Top Shot Tesla was like cosmetics isn't a great example. I think like to this point, this specifically is kind of what we're leaning into of like, that's a great advertisement. And that expands, especially when we're talking about getting more women to watch the WNBA, that expands the WNBA to a broader audience, which I think is the goal, right? That,
I was just using, but I agree with what you were saying. Like, it's not just women's products. Like there's so like the streetwear, there's so many things that they're missing out on. I'm just saying like, there's so many companies that are already marketing for the base of these players. So like, I don't understand what, like, stop calling up beauty queens, you know, like some person I've never heard of who won some like random pageant in the middle of nowhere and using them for a commercial when you could use these WNBA players who are, you know, whatever. But how come we don't have more jerseys? Nike pretends they care about it. Give me more jerseys.
More merch in general.
Yes.
There's a huge merch problem in the league. There is none.
At all.
There is none. Besides the orange sweatshirts.
Yeah. I can think of two sites that have, well, shit, I forgot one of them, but homage.com/Winsidr. Yeah. perfecttee.com/Winsidr. All places where you can get great WNBA gear year round and also give a little kickback to the good folks at Winsidr. And but this is also a common like conversation, like excuse me, the Chicago Sky won a championship in October. Their jerseys did not go back on sale until like what, February, the end of January or something. Like it was impossible to get their jerseys.
And in men's leagues, it's like 2 seconds after the game's over.
Do they print both sets for women? Do they print? Because you know how for men's leagues they print both sets of championships, so they have them ready to go.
I think they do, but I think the difference is for the W, they only make like enough for the team right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would buy a Vandersloot ankle brace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, more athletes should be tapping into that market. I think the NBA should also be like, why are medical companies not using?
Hey, Shaq, you can tell
this is not. This is a chat for over 30 people, over 30-year-old people. We can
help that.
We know our audience.
Yep.
Honestly, if we could get an ankle brace sponsor or Icy Hot or a Theragun, that feels.
Oh my God, the Theragun. Well, actually, WNBA players were getting a bunch of free Theraguns. I would get one that says like, I don't know. There's some joke there with some player's name. But back to the jerseys. One of you, please buy a youth jersey so I can get an idea. They're cheaper and supposedly like the size difference.
It's probably not cut to a woman's fit.
But I wanted to. I have a child. She was watching the finals with me, and she thought Kalia Copper was the coolest thing that she had ever seen. Just the confidence, just the swagger, just everything she was doing on the court. She's not even a basketball fan. She wanted that jersey, could not find it anywhere. I have a friend who like went back home to see family in Chicago over the holidays, tried to get them to scout like all the stores to help me find something. Nada. Like you can't find that. It's
and then the name like the choices for names of players you can get is so limited.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
like it's like one per team.
You can pay extra. You can pay extra to make it a custom jersey, which is just freaking ridiculous. Like, no, and my thing is this: like, I understand they have to order a certain amount of prints and whatever.
It would fit it. It will fit him better than it fits me, for sure. I will buy him one, actually. Stay tuned, everyone.
I had someone do research on the street. I'm telling you, the sizing of it, it's shorter and it's slightly wider, and that's it.
Well, yeah, the women's ones like cut in and then are very, very long.
Wait, there's women's sizes too?
So the adult cut of the jerseys, at least on Nike, are like slightly a women's cut. So I remember when they first came out, they said like, if you're a man going to buy these jerseys, size up like 2 sizes. But they like weren't really telling you it was a women's cut, but they absolutely have a curve to them, and then they're like very, very long.
I mean, my Sylvia Fowles one is quite long. I think I'm cool. I do a little tuck into the belt. I don't have a cool belt though. I really need to get like, I don't know, some really cool
big basketball on it.
Yeah, something like that.
You should get a W one. Use the Winsidr logo. That's the next thing on the merch site.
It would really fit with my bolo tie look. I'm big into bolo ties these days because who wants to wear a real tie?
Could you put little basketballs on the end of the bolo ties?
Oh,
okay,
guys, I'm full of merch ideas. This is my wheelhouse.
Do you want to design the Winsidr, like a whole like collection of Winsidr merch?
Of Winsidr, yeah, but like in the bolo tie.
Yeah, no, only bolo ties, only accessories like bolo ties, belt buckles, suspenders.
I was out on bolo ties, but then Kelsey brought me right back in with the basketball. No one has looked cool in a bolo tie since like Bruce Springsteen.
No, just wait. I'm going to send you a photo of myself at one of these weddings I went to where I wore a bolo tie, and you're going to go, okay, he looked cool.
Okay, I'm convinced. There you go.
I'm going to bring.
I live in Nebraska. I've seen bolo ties at weddings, like, but I'm ready to see.
But like, I feel like who's wearing the bolo tie? Is it like Uncle Jim?
Always.
In his Wrangler cut jeans? Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. I'm wearing like a fancy suit jacket.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm convinced. I'm going to have an open mind about this whole bolo tie process, because I had clearly been proven wrong by Kelsey's idea, and so I'm in. Let's go.
Bolo ties are coming back, and I'm the one bringing it back.
I'm excited for this.
Not only doing the hard work on Winsidr, doing the hard work on the front for men's fashion.
Oh yeah, someone's got to do it. I brought pink back. I made pink cool for I don't know. Oh, for a long time, my goal was to bring ascots back. I thought ascots were so cool when I was in high school. That tells you who I was in high school.
Were you in the marching band?
You were Cousin Eddie in high school? Yeah.
I say that as someone who was in marching band.
No, I can't play an instrument for my life. I went to a private Jewish school where I was the most athletic person in my class of 12.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was such a feat. And then I went to a public high school, and I thought I was going to go to the NFL. And the first day of football practice, I was the second smallest kid on the team. So that was a culture shock for me.
That's a shocking day.
Oh my God, I got laid out. I was like, I'm not playing wide receiver anymore. I'm going to defense. I don't want to get hit.
And they're like, you're not big enough. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you want to be the kicker?
I loved when I got to tackle that one kid who was smaller than me. It was like, okay, great. Right?
I hope they're doing well.
I saw him at a wedding recently, and
wearing a bolo tie.
No, because he's not as cool as me, but he is a redhead, and he is a little bit more swole than me. So I gotta say, props to him.
It's from laying him out in football practice.
Yeah,
that's right. That's like a core memory.
Next time I see this guy, I'm gonna be bigger in some capacity. There we go.
It worked. Oh my gosh, I love the journey that we took in the last 3 minutes. This was amazing. Yeah. Aryeh, do you want to hang while we rip open some NBA Top Shot packs?
I would love to, but I probably should bounce. I appreciate you guys though. But I'm gonna rewatch this later because I do not know enough about Top Shots, so I will learn from you guys. So
that sounds great.
Yeah,
I think
we can have you on another time, and you can just ask us all of those questions because we do love to onboard Top Shot users. That's a great. That's fun for everyone. It brings us all back.
So Aryeh, last episode we had on Crystal Dangerfield. She's going to be our official. We already decided official WNBA correspondent for the show. With you, I think you have clearly established yourself as the official bolo tie correspondent. So when we get this design, when we need the consultation, you're coming back. And I hope maybe even before, because we're going to need the analysis that you brought.
I'm fully going to do a full mock-up of merch.
I can't
Please
wait.
do.
And we'll have you on. We'll have you on for a Top Shot show, and I'll reveal all my merch ideas. It's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. This is the crossover we've all needed.
That's right.
This is what we've needed, you guys.
Aryeh, thank you so much for being a part of the Watch Your Work show.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Keep doing what you do.
All right. Thank you.
We'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Talk to you soon.
Oh, that was amazing. I can't wait to design bolo ties.
I'm going to be hosting this. We've gone from like me being kicked out of the show to me being the only one on the show now because you're starting this fashion career. And
yeah, I have I'm actually going to do a spin-off show of just merch. Watch her merch.
All right. I have two things left on my list that we got to do. Number one is we need the help of the Team Hold community. And I'm going to bring up a little show here. Let's see. Is this going to work? Yep. All right, folks, you see it here. This is the Watch Your Work 2022 NCAA Women's Bracketology Tournament. I'll post the link and the password in the chat here in a little bit. But you join, create your ESPN account if you need to, and you join all of us as we try to have the least busted bracket. I don't think there's any way that we're going to be experts in any of this at all.
I think we do an award for like most right and most wrong. But since you only get one entry, you have to pick your angle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you guys can approach this whichever way you want. We'll give something away for the worst bracket and the best bracket, I think. Yeah, we will post this in the Team Hold Discord. I think too, Kevin, you sent me a link and it didn't make me enter like the code and stuff. So I think the link takes you directly to signing into the Watch Her Work bracket. But yeah, definitely.
And I'll link it in the chat, NVH. Yep, we have the link. We can throw it in there. I figured we would get some whiny voices in there. Why are you throwing it in the Discord? I want it now. And I totally get that. I would be the same way. So here we go.
I need to know where that impression was born from.
This is born from having a 6-year-old who.
That's a 6-year-old. I was curious.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love it. She's great.
She is great. Gosh. But I have all the patience in the world for the whiny voice. And so I do not go for that right away. So I'm going to post it in here.
You could hear it. You heard it. You read the comment. You heard it in that voice is what is my favorite part about it.
But clearly out of love.
Borland. This was not your 6-year-old. This was Neil. This is how you imagine.
Mm-hmm. Hands, touching hands, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Oh, this is
Neil, please weigh in.
Great audio at this point. This turned into like dunking on Neil.
I can't wait until that becomes its own song drop, though. It's already done. We just put that on.
We have
our first song.
I picked the absolute wrong person to dunk on in the chat because Neil Diamond Hands has been the best from start to finish.
It really is.
It really is. And one thing I did not mention is I am putting up a Sabrina Ionescu TSD to the winner of whatever side of the bracket we fall on. If anyone else wants to add a moment to that pile of winner pile that we have, you can certainly DM me or Kelsey in the Discord and we'll get that figured out. and let's see. Find me on the Top Shot Tony spaces.
Oh my God.
All right,
I think I have to avoid those. I hear just Tony in the Top Shot Tony spaces.
I think the Tony just existing in your orbit just has to be exhausting. And so you're really the MVP.
Sometimes he slips into the voice. Just there's certain words where you can hear it. And you're like, oh, you could nope.
Yeah.
On your mic today.
Yep. We want to talk to Mike. Can I ask a personal question in that? Does Top Shot Tony ever show up to wedding planning? And
no. Top Shot Tony, I don't even think is on the guest list. So
thank God.
Mike does a good job. Mike used to do. There was a Snapchat filter that he had a character of, similar to Top Shot Tony, I think. But that character, I forget the name of it. I think it was Todd. The name of the character is Todd. So I would be Tammy. We had like Todd and Tammy in the Dr. World. So people, I know in the last one, people were like Top Shot Tina. I don't think I can do it.
Top Shot Tammy definitely has a Boston accent.
Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Discord. I don't have that link ready. I should.
Let's work on that.
Yeah, you take the kid out of Boston, but you cannot take Boston. I'm sure. Yeah. There's plenty of content of Mike doing a Boston accent. It's one of his favorites.
Do I have the authority to share a link to the Discord? I don't know.
All Day Dina is very funny.
Ooh.
Although our favorite bartender at the bar by us is named Dina, so I feel like I should pick a different name, but I like that. I like that. That may make me line up for more All Day packs.
Here we go with the
Discord link going in there.
Yep.
Excellent.
I just like I do on Zoom meetings that I lead, I have to talk and just narrate all the things that I see and click on. Like I'm a 5-year-old on a road trip. This is how I live my life. Tina, do you have any packs that you need to open?
I do not have any packs.
Okay.
It's been a minute. I don't think anyway. If I do, it's a surprise to me.
You are making good decisions with your life, so congratulations. I will go ahead and open. Let's see. Where are we at? So while I start to bring this stuff up, there we go. How many folks are going for Flash Challenge tonight? Do we have any news in the chat about who's for sure going to be in that Flash? Because I think it was a combination of points and assists. Is that right?
You know what? I'm getting my Top Shot account up now because I am not sure.
All right.
Well, here
Kelsey,
we go.
it's been a long time since I've had a win. I have had 0 wins in packs on this show.
Let's go.
You are still probably setting.
We had Winsidr. I feel like that's good vibes, right?
That's gotta be great. Yeah.
Yeah, that feels like the right vibes. I mean, I do feel like Crystal on the show Sunday counts as a win, but
humongous capital.
We are hoping
win.
that's still carrying over.
Yep. This is my process for Flash challenges. Like the speculative buying, I have struck out on the 2 times that I've tried it. Even with like 60K moments, it kind of hurts. So
Mike
I just wait till the next morning.
That part of this stuff. That's like
the degen part of any challenge or any game. I'm sure he's great at. And thanks, Neil Diamond Hands.
I mean, once there's when there's more fantasy sports aspects to this stuff, guys, you're already here, so you know what we're talking about. But you wait.
Do we go? Do I try to find any?
Can you close your place bid?
Oh yeah,
message
absolutely.
at the bottom. I'm pointing at my screen. I'm like pointing like
the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have a party with some trade tickets.
Oh my god! Where is it? Hold on.
Turn down the volume. Turn down the volume.
I don't know how to do that, so everyone get ready. Where is it?
I'm telling the viewers. I don't think we can do that. Oof, that was rough.
That was the
Neil
best.
Diamond Hands, don't go around giving bad advice in here. We're not gonna advise anyone to place a bid, and like I'm
that
not
would have
gonna
been
place
great
a
contact
bid.
with huge
Yeah.
ramifications.
That would have exceeded this educator's Top Shot budget for sure. Some Vucci mine. We got the Biombos of the Bismack variety.
Of the Bismack.
I really do like that dunk. Yeah.
There you go.
That's, I mean, as far as trade ticket dunks go, I think there's worse
like
ones.
It.
There we go. Oh, speaking of trade ticket dunks, we got one more. Isaac Okoro. That's really good tomahawk fashion. There we go. All right.
A little bounce off the defender, I feel like.
Yeah. All right. Who do we have?
Pretty good cereal on that one.
There we go. We'll take the cereal because I do not like the player. And
Reddish, just like the show.
Hey. That was.
We got to do something with that, actually, now that I'm thinking of it.
I appreciative of that one. All right. We're as fun as that was to open. We're calling this an L. Sit down. Oh, also, I would have loved to have heard the Hornets like broadcaster call that, because that person just gives me excitement in life all the time.
I like that call.
All right,
here we go.
For the love of God, let's have something good happen. We got color under there. Let's see. Is this a Tatum 999? I'll take that.
Well, I think
like
it was
this play.
There's cereals above that one. I don't know if it's that moment. We love a Tatum though. Oh yeah,
462, 4612. There we go.
There you go.
One more dunks. Hachimura. We saw this one 100 times on the afternoon stream. Shout out to everyone who was there, who showed up for afternoon time with all the streams. That was just like a fun time. All right. We got Sabonis. My favorite comment of the afternoon was Mike saying that he needs to get off the Kings after being there for 3 seconds. I don't disagree with that.
That's a fun take.
There we go. That's a good Mike take. All right, Steven Adams with the assist. I love this play. It is so unfortunate.
That's fun.
Yep. That's like very true, like parent commentary. Like if I showed this to like my mom, she would say, "Oh, look at him. That's fun. It's a fun play." I like it. Oh, no.
Neil makes a good point. It's a bone. He's
That's
right.
I messed up the team hold pronunciation.
He's right.
Yep. The Cork Maz. The Corky Maz. It doesn't work with other players. If we tried this a bone approach with other players, it just doesn't work. The Hachi Murachi.
Hachi is kind of fun though.
Oh, that's way better.
You go Hachi.
I'm never not going to be able to hear that whenever we talk about Rui. Not that how often are we going to talk about Rui?
Hopefully not that often, but now it's more fun.
Now we have a more fun way to do it.
Now it's more fun.
Kelsey, we streamed we're over 80 minutes.
We did it.
Yeah.
And then some.
Deep threat always coming in to make me feel better.
I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Sorry for your loss.
For real this time. We say that every time, man. And then I'm gonna like the hustle and show moments, and I'm gonna feel like, all right, I'm gonna break up. I'm not gonna break up the set. If we had time.
I wish that this would show up for Deep Threat when he's in the next queue. I wish Top Shot had the functionality to be like, here's all the time since the last pack drop that you said you weren't going to do this. That's probably not ideal for their marketing, but I do think it's good. It's like when you set limits on DraftKings or FanDuel and it's like, no, sorry, you can't. It's like, that's the Top Shot equivalent. It's like, here's what you've been saying lately. So
Joker Rock, go back and watch the afternoon streams, because there was like some point where everyone pulled like all rares and all hollows, and I saw so many all-star game packs pulled. Like I wanted it. I had to be in it. I wasn't gonna like pay physical money for a pack, but I did, because there was a lot of all-stars pulled, and this is what we got. This is the true casino kind of thing. Like, this has to be like the next like Captura. Like, instead of like asking me if I can like identify light bulbs, like show me my old tweets and ask if I still want to buy. There we go.
Right.
I like that
That's
idea.
the CAPTCHA thing. Like, if you're not a robot, it's like, okay, but
we're clear you're not a robot, but
are you making decisions that are best for you?
You may not be a robot, but do you have self-control? No, because I'm still here. There we go. Kelsey, what else do we want to talk about?
I think we covered it.
We covered it all.
I feel like we're always like, we have these two ideas. We've gotten good at being like, okay, we're going to cover these two things because that's probably enough, because we know that's enough to start the tangents and we'll be off to the races.
That's right. Well,
we did it. We'll have some NCAA women's stuff coming up. That's going to be exciting. And the NCAA men's bracket selection Sunday coming at you this Sunday. And then we're off. Oh yeah, this is if it were any less cold out, that would be a great bit right now. Maybe another day. I've been noodling around with that idea.
Nobody's gonna ask the Nebraskan to take the camera outside, because it's just like, oh, you're just gonna see nothingness, like a whole lot of like empty spaces, probably some snow. Give it to the New Yorker. There we go. Kev runs through field court. Damn it, you're right. There we are. Yep, this is taking us back to the deep threat Jeb shows, going for all kinds of hours. Well, Kelsey, it was great. I would say, I don't know, like, we won't be back for a couple of weeks, but we know better than that at this point.
Hopefully with another guest. Look at us. Thank you so much to Aryeh for joining.
Go check out all the Winsidr stuff. Not just the stuff that I write. Check out all the stuff.
And also the stuff. Do you know, I almost today, there's a contact form, and it's like, let us know, like, if you'd want to write stuff, or what you want to read about, or what you thought about articles, or like if you want to talk to the editors. And I thought about telling the team hold friends to go to the contact form and be like, more stuff from Kevin. So
I already got a DM from Aryeh today, like sort of checking up and like, that article you said you were going to write 2 weeks ago. Like, what's the status update on that? Like, how would that have happened if Team Hold had shown up? Like, I would.
Truly might. Now that Aryeh has been on the show, if I can confirm that he's the one that reads the contact form submissions, absolutely. I'm going to put all my merch ideas on their contact page. I'm going to be like, hey, circling back about those bolo ties. I don't see them on the site yet.
Just checking.
Would like to purchase soon.
Yeah. Is there a
check out Winsidr. Go read their stuff.
Check out Winsidr. They actually have really cool merch as well. I also sent a link to their YouTube channel, which also posts their podcast, but you can find their podcast everywhere: the Apples, the Stitchers, the other stuff. And appreciate you, Kelsey. Appreciate the chat here. Y'all are cool. We'll see you in the bracketology stuff. Yeah.
See you guys soon.
Bye, all.